Hello, you novice duelist. You're watching this video and you're probably like, okay, so what? Why is my build so important? Forgive the flag, just saying. Why is my build so important? And what should I do? Hello, Dark Zod. So today I'm going to be giving you guys basically everything you need to know about building your first deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or really any trading card game, because all of these tips and tricks can actually be used in card games like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon as well. So the first thing you need to do is know what you want to build, what kind of play style you want to do, and honestly, what the deck you're wanting to build does itself. So for this example, I'll be using my Odd Eyes for an example. So the main gimmick of my Odd Eyes deck is it searches for things that allow it to turbo out more pendulum monsters. Now, this is fine on its own, but every once in a while, your builds can be a little cloggy or slow depending on what you want. So that's why knowing what different kinds of engines are can help you out, such as Plants and stuff along those lines. But we'll be focusing on a pure build for this video in particularly. So starting off, you need to know exactly what your boss monster is and what your boss monster does. Personally, in my Odd Eyes deck, I run Odd Eyes Pendulum and Arc Pendulum as the boss monsters as a collective unit. You see, they're both rank 7s, and one of the things that is unique about Pendulum builds is they have access to all sorts of extra deck options, be it links, fusions, XYZ, and even synchro plays. So now that we've kind of got what we want, we know what the build does, how do we want to build it? Well, obviously we know what our boss monster is going to be. So from there, we can actually build the deck around the boss monsters, be it cards that can buff them or help bring them out quicker. A good example of something to buff them would be something like Odd Eyes Phantom, which allows your Odd Eyes monsters to get an additional 12,000 if you have pendulum scales, which this deck will 9 times out of 10 always have pendulums. And having a card in your deck for protection never hurt either. In the form of Odd Eyes Persona, we're able to protect ourselves from most situations that pop up outside of your monsters not being able to protect themselves. You also need to have one major thing in the deck, which allows you to get to plays that you need. Personally, I run 3 Chronograph and 1 Time Gazer. I want to end on Time Gazer in the scales, or even on the field for synchro plays. Now, that would be considered an engine. It's something to extend your plays and can actually make building your deck a little more fun. Personally, I run a Dark Worm engine as well, so I'm never short on what I can do. And each engine can access different things in the extra deck. And depending on what plays I want to make first turn, tends to bank on what I play in the deck. Running searching cards and even cards that can get you to your big boss first turn are also good options. Personally, depending on if you build a deck to go first or second, running cards that actually enable your plays are also good options. Like, for instance, Heavy Metal Foes Electromite for Pendulum decks is almost a requirement at this point for you to be able to play. However, it being a newer deck style of play, a lot of people don't really like the link format as a whole, which is perfectly understandable, and you don't have to play link format if you don't want too. If you play casual games, don't worry about it. However, if you're new to building decks, a good start is knowing what you want your deck to do and figuring out an easier way to do that, finding cards that synchronize with it, and even going on and looking up other people's builds to see what they run. Another, now a little more of an advanced tip, is running hand traps or things that can help you deal with other players' effects or just negation in general. Whereas my Rockets build does not. My Odd Eyes build relies heavily on drawing one of 3 hand traps either early on or halfway through the game if I can stall long enough. Also, knowing what your win condition is kind of helps out as well. But if I can draw into Ash, Effect Veiler, or Infinite Impermanence, I can lock down my opponent for at least a turn. Now, another good tip is to look up stall, stun, control, combo, and what kind of variation your deck is. Because if you're wanting to build a burn deck, something like Odd Eyes is not going to help you with that. Odd Eyes does not burn. It does not run cards that does burn damage. So you really have to try a little harder in figuring out what you want to do. Honestly, depending on the type of build you want to do, there are plenty of options, be it burn decks, tricks. A good option is Trick Stars, or if you're newer to the game, even Red Eyes. Red Eyes is pretty good for learning the burning aspect. However, I recommend knowing what's meta relevant. Even if you don't play meta, knowing what's meta relevant will actually help you out. Be it cards like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, Thousand Eyes Restrict when it was called by the grave. You have prepare for the meta even if you're not planning on playing the meta, because you don't know who does, and running cards in your deck that can handle things that are in the meta is actually a good thing. That's why sideboards are another thing, and that'll be a later discussion. If I do talk about that, it'll be upon request of Souls Taker, who has actually been a big help in the majority of some of the recent builds I've been doing. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I will go more in depth. This will not be a one-step video. This will be multiple videos that I shovel out as the series progresses. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out.